Mishka, I had a lot of fun working with you today. This is Mishka, and this is Mishka's Roadmap to Success. Now, I'm going to start off by, I guess in chronological order. I'm holding a bully stick just to keep him in the shot. But basically, he is normally reactive to people he doesn't know. I asked the guardian when I first arrived, I called, and he said, well, normally he'll just bark at you for about 5 minutes if you ignore him, and we kind of interact with you. He'll calm down and relax. And that's something a lot of people do. Problem is the dog is practicing. That's a good first step, but the dog is practicing now reacting for that first 5 minutes. And so what I did instead was I had the guardians meet me outside. Now, what I would recommend the guardians do is have people who are going to come visit watch this part of the video, which is what I'm doing at the beginning. So basically, the guardians, one of the guardians should go outside and give him a handful of these treats. What you want to do is starting about 15 feet away from the steps in the building that way, start lining up the treats about a foot to a foot and a half apart. And basically make a trail of treats, make them straight in a line, and then leading up to where you're going to be sitting on the steps in that building, and just right out front. And basically what they're going to do is bring Mishka out, come over and point out the first treat, and after doing this 2 or 3 times, he'll just go straight there. He'll know where they are. He's going to gobble up the treats. When he comes up to you, I want you to have some treats in your hand, and he's going to be coming from this direction. And so I would like you to have, probably at least 5 or 10 more treats. When he comes to you, you're going to hold your hand out flat, not with all the treats. I just only have 2 hands. So I would have just 1 treat in my hand flat like this and hold it off to the side. Front facing is confrontational dog, sideways is approachable. So when he comes over to you, don't say, hey, Mishka, here's a treat. Just hold and wait for him to come over. And when he comes over, kind of take your hand and just kind of hold up like with 1 treat like this and just hold it there. And just kind of watch him from the corner of your eye without turning your head. And Mishka comes over and licks up the treat. After he licks it up, most people will take their hand away. Once he licks it up, keep your hand there. A lot of times they'll come and sample you a second time. What we want him to do is accomplish meeting people and having something positive happen. Outside is nice because it provides distractions. There's traffic, there's people, there's birds, there's the wind, there's rabbits and squirrels, all the rest of that stuff. And those are nice distractions. So instead of focusing on the one person who's new, which is what happens when you come inside, he gets to meet them outside. So what I would do is I would go through your Rolodex, talking to the guardians now, and Rolodex again sounding old, but go through your phones and people you haven't seen in a while. Be like, oh man, we haven't seen Trevor in a long time. Trevor, hey, you know what? You've got this great dog. He's a little bit fearful of new people. We got this great way to help him feel positive about people. We got a nice bottle of Merlot. Why don't you come over? We'll get some wine and cheese and we'll just kind of hang out a little bit and tell you about what's going on. You can meet Mishka. And so they get to meet outside. And so Mishka now has a positive association. Instead of having that 5 minutes of barking, we have a nice positive experience outside. Then we come inside, and once you, I guess let's go back to the people. So after you want to give him a treat and then pull out another treat and hold off to the side, you want to do that until he gets about 4 or 5 treats. And then when you're getting ready to come back inside, what you would do is give him another treat, then stand up. And when you stand up, kind of do it, not in slow motion, but don't just bounce up, but give him the treat first. And then as you start walking back to the place, give him another treat after the first step and have a couple of treats in this hand so you can give him one every couple of steps as you're walking through. You don't have to do it ad nauseum. And this is at first, you want to have the treats about 1 foot apart, then about 1.5 foot apart when you're leaving on the sidewalk, and then 2 feet apart. And when he's getting more and more practice with guests, then they hold out maybe 2 or 3 treats aside, give him one when you get up, and then take 2 steps before you give him a treat and 4 steps before you give him a treat. You're gradually going to make it longer and longer. He's going to have to give you more criteria before he gets the reward. But at first, we're just going to be very liberal about it and just give him a ton of those treats so that he just gets a ton and has that positive association. Now, something else you could do is you could actually take him for a little bit of a walk around the block. If he's still reactive to the person, take note of the person. Does the person have a beard? Are they really tall? Are they very loud? Do they smoke? Are they a person of color? Do they have dreadlocks? Is a woman in a dress? There can be a lot of things that the dog is responsive to. So if you start taking notice, he did great except for with Billy. When Billy came by, he was just reactive. But let's say Billy works in a weird field that has a weird smell to him. Because of working in oil fields, or I don't know, whatever it is. But you might notice a trend. People with beards, he's more reactive to. Men, tall people, skinny people, loud people. So if that's the case, then we know, okay, these are the people we want to look for and have people come by who are going to be loud so we can help the dog practice developing a positive association with that. Now, his guardians are thinking eventually of adding to their tribe, and he is not a big fan of kids. So another thing you might want to do is a little counter conditioning for kids. Now we're standing, which what we did in the video above, but for the sounds. But for when we're standing, we look temporary. When we're sitting, we're going to be there for a minute. So what I would do is I would find a place where there's like a playground where there's going to be some kids. Find a time of the day when it's not going to be happy hour, not the most kids, probably the least amount of kids, maybe 1 or 2 kids on a swing. Go there and start walking towards it. And when you get about 25, 30 feet away, stop and tell him to sit. If he won't sit, or if he does sit and you try to give him a treat and he won't take the treat, if he won't take this treat or he won't sit, he's saying, I'm getting too close to whatever that is and not comfortable enough to sit down. So then you move a couple feet away and try again. You want to get as close as you can where you can get the dog to sit and take a treat. Once you find that distance as close as you can, then you want to basically sit down and eat a sandwich. Or read some emails, read a magazine or whatever. So what we want the dog to do is practice being around kids, but far enough away from the kids where he doesn't feel that they are a threat. And you're pretty relaxed because you're sitting down and eating a sandwich or whatever it is. And you keep on practicing that at like 25 feet until he seems pretty comfortable and he's sitting and laying down. The next time you go to 24 feet and then 23 feet. And don't always do it like if the camera's the playground and here. So don't always go this orientation. Sometimes be on that side and this side, on the other side. So he just gets used to being near kids where the kids don't interact with him. No kids are rushing up. And he gets something positive happen. So you can give him a bully stick or something like this and hold on to it. Try to get him like looking. So if the kids are over there, I'd like to hold it like this. So he's chewing on the bully stick while he's looking at the kids. And he will not think of this as chewing on the kids. It's just a positive reinforcement. Now, when we're out and about, if we do run into people, especially kids, I'm going to make sure you ask the kids, hey, can you guys, you want to meet him? Yeah, sure, let's form a line. And the kids will form a line. If somebody doesn't, like, if you want to meet him, buddy, you got to get in line. And if they don't, if they ask why, just like, sometimes he gets a little bit nervous when he has a whole bunch of people surrounding him. So we want to do it in a line. And we'd like to position it so that the person is sideways to the dog and preferably crouching or sitting down. Standing, facing the dog is confrontational. Leaning over a dog, standing, bending at the waist is also kind of intimidating for dogs. So we'd like to have them meet inside to side, but the better thing to do is actually just ask the people, can I pet your dog? Would you like to give him a treat? I would love to give him a treat. Sit up, sit, sit. And then you turn around and give them a treat, and they say, and they give the dog a treat. And if they do pet the dog a little bit, it's preceded with a treat. So he's probably gonna be more open to that. And don't let the next kid come up. Make sure the kids stay about 3 feet away, and then one kid comes up, give him a treat. And then the kid reaches for the dog and the dog turns his head to the side, that's the dog's way of saying no. So maybe say that, we could try, but he really prefers getting treats over having people pet him. So we could try it. After you give him a treat, if he turns his head to the side, though, that's his way of saying no. And you could do a service by teaching kids that when a dog turns his head to the side when you reach for it, is the dog's way of saying no, I would rather you don't touch me. A lot of us feel social pressure, like we feel like, let's lie down. Down? It'll be easier for me if you lay down. There we go. We feel social pressure. If we don't let people pet our dogs, we feel like we failed them or we're being rude. But if he's uncomfortable and we make him interact with people when he's uncomfortable, that breaks his trust with us as people and also makes him think, I have to handle things for myself. So having a copious amount of treats, and the Guardians have a nice a pouch that they use on walks, I would use some really high value treats like the one that I have, chicken liver. I use Chicken Trainer chicken liver flavored treats, and they have a really strong aroma. And so that's the other thing when you're at the playgrounds, when you get to the point where you're close enough, if the kids are like, hey, can I say how you're doing? Sure. Well, but he doesn't like being petted. He just likes getting treats. Would you like to give him a treat? Sure. And ideally, you'd like to have them hold it with a flat palm and off to their side. And hold it like a foot away so he has to move forward even just a little bit to get to it. If the kid is going to him, that can make him on the defensive. If he's coming towards the kid, even if it's just leaning towards them, that's a wonderful way for him to feel like he's more in control. All right, now we also talked about a number of other things. We talked about the importance of exercise. Remember to use that retractable leash and one set of stairs. See if you can talk to your neighbors about doing the fetch down the hallways, using the laser. Another one is you can Google scent games, hiding some treats around when he's in the other room. He has to come and find them with his nose. That's physically draining and stimulating for him. And so these are nice ways to deplete his energy. Doing this before you meet somebody outside would be a great thing to do. Before you go to be around the kids, great thing to do. Before you're doing the counter conditioning we talked about in the video above. setting your dog up for success by depleting that excess energy. Now remember, dogs have two big energy zones in the morning and the evening. So in the morning, keep on taking for the walks, but make sure one of you, in alternate days, goes to the stairs and just does maybe 10 or 20 or 30 up downs on the stairs real quick, and then come back inside. He catches his breath, you take a shower, you make a breakfast, do all the rest of that stuff. So we can set him up for success by using some exercise. We can also, little pieces right there. You're leaving bully stick remnants on me. There you go. Yeah, get that. So other things we went over are the importance of rules and structure, something that most people don't have for their dogs, and it confuses the dog oftentimes to think it needs to be in charge of the humans. And the humans don't listen to them, and that makes the dog more stressed out and more reactive. So instead, what I like the guardians to do is start assuming that leadership role through their actions. So you can get the X mats. They're already doing a good job of not laying them on the furniture. The X mats will keep them off when you're gone if you want to do that. Get them on Amazon. They should be about $11 a piece. You probably need about 4 or 5 of them. Let me see. Another one is I would not let him on the bed in the kitchen, in the bedroom, until the guardians invite him up. And one of the guardians mentioned they work kind of same job but different hours sometimes. And sometimes one of the guardians is asleep and the other guardian comes in and he's almost protective of the bed. Well, if he just gets used to, I would say the rule is he's not allowed to be in the bed if the other person's going to be gone until that person gets back. And so that person's the one giving him permission, and he can't get on the bed on his own. He has to get permission to get on the bed. That helps him adopt more of that follower's mindset. Another rule would be he has to sit before we let him out of the door. So go to the door, put him on the leash first, and remember, go to my website, dogonproblems.com, look for Calm Leash, or hopefully you bookmark that video I showed you here. Practice leashing him up at times when you're not actually going for a walk. So he understands the leash doesn't always mean go for a walk. So what we do is we put him on the leash first, then we come to the door and we tell him to sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away, leave him on the leash, just walk away and sit down. Watch TV, read something, wait 1 minute. After 1 minute, come back to the door and have Alexa tell you 1 minute timer. Come back to the door and tell him again, sit. If he doesn't sit this time, I walk away for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. He has 3 seconds to sit each time. But as soon as you come over here and say sit, you pop that door open immediately. That means that sit causes the door to open. After a while, he'll come and sit at the door to ask to go out. And I would eventually do it with both directions. And any door to the building, door to the elevator, door to Starbucks, wherever you're at, he has to sit before you open any door. Tell him sit once and just wait for, and as soon as he sits, boom, open that door. It's a nice, polite way for him to be. Now, also, when we're out and about, if we ask him to sit and he won't sit down, ask yourself, is this environment too stimulating for him? Is it too advanced? Is there something he's not comfortable with? Dogs like to be standing, which is more of an action position for them. So if he refuses to sit, then that might be a good indicator that he's slightly stressed about the situation. All right, so other rules: not be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food, not be allowed on the carpet here when we're eating food on the couch, not being around in the box around the table when we're eating at the table there. Also, the guardian's going to eat something before they feed him. And once they eat, all it has to be is 5 more bites of something. Then the guardian's going to come over, tap his bowl, and then he has permission to come and eat. If he doesn't eat, come within a minute or two, then we're going to pick up the bowl, dump it empty, and put the bowl back down. Or if he goes and sniffs it and walks away, as soon as he walks away, pick up the bowl and dump it empty, and it's important to put the bowl back down. And so after a while, he'll start eating after you guys, which sounds like he's already doing a little bit of this before, but this will help him start to see and respect you as more of an authority figure, because you eat before he does and you give him permission to eat. Now, also remember, use passive training to come up with a command word. So say the name of your favorite restaurant or favorite dish. So maybe every time he takes his first bite of food, you say sushi. Well, then sushi becomes his command word. Remember, it's got to be about 2.5 months of consistency before he remembers that. Also, every time he comes to you, pet him and say come. Every time he sits down next to you, pet him and say sit or lay down. So this is passive training where we're waiting for him to do the behavior first, and we're recognizing and rewarding it in that 3-second window with the pet. Whenever possible, try to pet him under his chin. Try to avoid reaching over his head. You can scratch him anywhere you want, just don't pat him on top of the head or reach over his head. So passive training is waiting for him to do it on his own. If he does anything unusual, one of my dogs grumbles. Every time he grumbles, I pet him and say grumble. Now he comes up and goes, when he wants attention from me. It's funny. So every time he brings you a toy, name each individual toy. Every time he goes to his dog bed, maybe you call that one Malibu. Come up with, or Russia. Come up with a fun word for all these command words. Also come up with a list of the official command words. Tape on the refrigerator somewhere. And if I say come here, and the word is come, somebody says vocabulary, and I go, oh, thank you, come. So if we use just one version of the command where it's easier for him to pick up on that, it just accelerates his learning process. Whenever possible, come up with funny command words. Remember, they can read facial expressions. So if he takes his takes his first bite of food and call it borscht, I think that's a Russian thing, or whatever it is, and you smile and chuckle, that makes him more motivated to want to do that. So come up with funny command words for anything new that you're introducing him to. I didn't talk about this during the session, but I would like the guardians to try to teach him some new tricks or commands. We went over a focus exercise. We also went over a hand targeting exercise. And you can go to my website and find links to both those. Click on the dog training tips page. On the right side of the page, there's a search box. If you're looking at a desktop, if you're on your phone, you got to go to the bottom. But there's one that's also signed up for the newsletter, so make sure you're using the search box. So you type in focus, and it'll be a whole bunch of videos. I'll show you how to do the focus. Target, it will be the targeting exercise. I also teach people how to do what I call a hurricane. You go to YouTube, there's all these dog trainers. They'll teach you how to dog to bang, you're dead, roll over, touch my slippers, give me a beer, whatever it is. So coming up and teaching him new tricks or commands is a nice way to boost his self-esteem. So I would recommend the Guardian switch. 1 week on Sunday, Guardian A teaches him a new trick. And then by maybe Monday or Tuesday, he's got the trick down. Every time you go outside, you got to roll over. You want to pet your roll over. You want your food, roll over. You want to get on the regular bed, roll over. At the end of a week, he'll start rolling over for everything. Then the next week, Guardian B takes over. And Guardian B teaches him to play dead, or whatever the case may be. So each week, you teach him a new trick or command. I'd like each one of you to pick 4 of them. And if you could teach him 8 new commands, plus the commands he knows, that's going to give him a certain level of experience that confidence that you should glean from that should really be beneficial. It'll also help him see and respect you as authority figures. Another great way to help him see and respect you as authority figures is what I call petting with a purpose. And that's basically petting him or giving him a counter order. If he comes up and nudges me and tells me what to do, he's giving me an order. That's a leadership mindset. If I follow it, that's a follower's mindset. So what I'd like to do instead, if he comes up and says sit, or nudges me for attention, I tell him to sit. If he's already sitting, I might ask him to sit over here or ask him to lay down. He has to do something to change his state in order to earn that affection. Then when I pet him under the chin, I say the word sit and only the word sit, not good sit, just sit. And then I can pet him as long or as little as I want to after that first pet. After a while, he'll come start sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. Now remember, if you come in the room and you suspect somebody may be petting without a purpose, you say paycheck, that person has to stop petting, tell him to sit, pet him on his chin, say sit, and then say I did it the right way, thanks for reminding me though. Also come up with a word for passive training. I say testify, but you might want to say recognize, reward, or whatever it is. That means the dog just did something you should be rewarding it for. The more we reward our dogs for desired actions and behaviors, the more they will offer those to us. And the more the dog does that, the less likely they're going to get into trouble. But also the new tricks and commands gives us other ways to redirect the dog's attention. Remember the focus exercise. Really focus on that one. Go to my website, maybe find a focus on that one, and practice the heck out of that. Remember, you got to get to 15 seconds in the house within a week. Then you want to get up to 15 seconds on your deck or outside in the building, but not outside. Then when you're on walks and there's nobody around, you're going to tell him to focus. He looks up at you and go 1 second, 1 second. And you do that for all 12 treats on that walk. Next walk, focus, 1 second, 2 seconds. Or instead of 1 second, you go to 2 seconds. And then eventually 3 and eventually 15 seconds. He gets to the point where he's running into stuff because he's looking up at you and not paying attention where he's going. This way, if you're on a walk and he sees there's another dog from the building or something he reacts to and he starts seeing it, you want to give him the focus redirect exercise or command before he's reacting. Once he's reacting, the only thing you can do is increase the distance. Move him around a car, around a driveway or a house, something that blocks his visual acuity, wait for him to settle down. Next time, try to recreate that situation, but before the person's coming, give him a focus command. He looks up at you, and then walk down the sidewalk to somebody's house. And then do practice the focus exercise, and you allow that person to walk by. So this way he sees they're listening to me, and we redirect his attention so he's not practicing reacting to them. And he sees my humans recognize when I'm uncomfortable. I don't have to bark to make the other dog move away or to get them to stop. I just kind of, flip my ears back or whatever it is. The other thing you might want to do is have one of you walking behind him, kind of at a, if you're looking at a dial, this is 12, the camera's 12, I'm 6. So at about like your 5 o'clock angle. So you're walking, you see the dog and the handler are here, and the person filming it's shooting this angle, and you can also see ahead of you. So that way when you're on a walk, you can have somebody maybe walk in the street or in the grass, filming you that way when you encounter a person or a dog that he's reactive to. So that way you can watch it later on your TV, on your computer, and see, right before he starts barking, he lowers his head, his ears flip back, his tail goes up, and his hackles stand up. So now I know what to look for. So now we're on a walk and I see somebody coming by, I'm kind of checking him out. Oh, tail's going up, ears going back, hackle came up, okay, let's move him off to the side. Or give him the focus exercise. So if we can read our dog's body language a little bit more effectively, that helps us get him out of trouble. Also, when he's doing positive things, also look at his body language. I tell people all the time, when your dog's doing something you know that he's having a good time, look at his tail. See, usually the tail goes to the left side. Sometimes it stays on that side. Sometimes it's sweeping strokes. The tail does not mean excited or happiness. It means excitement. So standing straight up and stiff can be a little bit more alerting, whereas slow, even with the parallel with the spine, can be more relaxing. Now, we also need to remember that excited is not necessarily happy when it comes to dogs. When we come home, I went through an exercise with the guardians. When we come home, and again, it'd be nice if the guardians could call or text each other before they come home, do 5 minutes on the stairs, give them 10 minutes to recover before the person gets to the door. And then what you do is you open the door about this far, put your foot in there, and just pull the door against your foot, and so the dog can see you, but he's all wiggly, he's all happy. Wait for him to be calmed down. As soon as he calms down, start opening the door. As soon as he starts wiggling, pull it back to your foot. Should actually closing it. And do this at times. Remember to set these things up at times when you have time. Don't do it when you're tight on schedule, because that's going to make you frustrated. So after a while, he's like, oh, when they come home, when I'm excited, that causes the door to close. And as soon as I'm calm, the door opens up, and if I stay calm, they'll eventually pet me. And it'll take a lot of repetition, but eventually he'll figure out to stay calm. And just like humans, the dog's less likely to make mistakes when it's calm than when it's overstimulated state of mind. Now remember, anything his dog is doing when you pet it is what you're going to be contributing to. So if he's excited and we pet him, we're going to make him more excited. If he's nervous, we're going to make him more nervous, anxious, fearful. If he is fearful, you can lay your hand on him and let him know I'm here with you without amplifying it. But as soon as you start petting, you'll make him nervous, or whatever he is at the time. Now, one thing I like to do is a settle exercise. Right now, he's nice and relaxed. Most of the time we tell our dogs to calm down, we're telling them when they're going bat stuff crazy. And so that eventually calm down must mean go crazy. So when you're watching TV, he's nice and relaxed like this, pet him in a slow stroke from the nape of his neck to the base of his tail. And strokes that take about 5 seconds. And then say settle, or zen, or chill, or chillaxing, or whatever word you want. So we use this word, the only time he hears it is when he's blissed out and relaxed like this. Then later on, that's 99% of the time. Then 1% of the time when he's excited, we say chill. He knows what we mean. Doesn't mean he's going to listen to us. That comes from enforcing the rules and adding structure and all the rest of the stuff we talked about earlier. But at least now we do have a command word to teach him to be calm. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's just about it. Now, if you guys have any questions or problems or things that happen, even if stuff is not related to this, make sure you let me know. If I don't hear from you, I assume that it's going great. The guardians did ask about teaching, getting him to stop pulling on the leash, and asking what equipment I like to use. To do that, we just need to teach the dog to walk with a loose leash. So if you guys want to set some sessions up to work on that, I can show you the steps. You guys can practice it, and I can come back and show you each broad stroke, and you fill in the detail. All right, well, this is Mishka, and he's definitely a boy, and this is Mishka's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.